Would you like to learn how to optimize your talking head video, like this one I'm doing here, or your podcast, or something else you are working on? So I'm going to be showing you 4 simple steps that you can follow to enhance your audio recording in post-production. And this video itself I have split to 3 segments. So first I'm going to be explaining to you a little bit about how to get great audio in the first place. Then after that I will be giving you a brief overview about the program we are using, which is called Audacity. And third, I'm going to be giving you that tutorial about the 4 steps. And the steps are noise reduction, high pass filter, compressor, and loudness normalization. And out of these 4, the first and the last are the most important ones. Alright, but how do we get great audio in the first place? So I wanted to include a few words about this, and I have thought about it as like a triangle. And we need to ensure that we have all these 3 bases covered. The first is the microphone we are using. Second one is the environment where we are recording in, like the acoustics. And thirdly, it is our own knowledge, so that we are using the device like it's supposed to be used, and that we know what to do in post-production to further increase the quality of the audio. So of course, to get great audio, we have to use the microphone correctly. So we have to understand what type of a microphone it is that you are using, like where do you place it? Do you need to hold it really close to your mouth? Or is it something like a directional microphone that you can just place off the shot like I have done here? We also have to take into account the environment we are recording in, and also what type of a microphone we are using in that environment, because some microphones are better for different environments than others. And even if we have very expensive professional microphone, but if we are using that in a bunker with a lot of echo from the walls, then that doesn't really help, and we are limited by the environment we are recording in. So we have to also consider and think about the room we are in, and how are the sound waves bouncing off the walls, and how is the microphone picking all of that up. Because sometimes that is the limiting factor when you are trying to get better audio from your microphone. And lastly, I mentioned something we will be talking about later, which is audio clipping. So when you're recording, you need to ensure that you put the gain to the right level. You want to put it as high as you can, but without making the audio to clip. And clipping happens when you make some loud sound or you speak too loudly, and then the gain has been set too high, and that then distorts the audio you are recording. And if that happens, then there's nothing we can do about that, even in the post-production. So now let's move on to take a look at the Audacity. So you can download this program for free for any platform you're using, Windows, Linux, Mac, and so on. And maybe I will touch on a little bit on why you are doing these steps that I'm about to show. Well, first one is maybe the most important, that you want to ensure that your recording is loud enough when you are uploading it to somewhere like YouTube. Because if your recording is lower volume than all the other videos, then your audience will complain that hey, your video is not loud enough, like they need to crank up all the volume and still they barely can hear you. So that is, I would say, the biggest reason. Then the second reason is to remove some unwanted noise from the background and so on. And then thirdly, there's some other fine tuning you can do to enhance the quality a little bit and make it more comfortable to listen to. And regarding that, I have a little recording here that is also educational. So let's listen to my test recording. The primary goal of a compressor is to reduce the dynamic range of the audio, the difference between the loudest and the quietest parts. By reducing the dynamic range, the compressor makes the audio more consistent in volume, which can make it more comfortable to listen to. Great. So that's what we are working with. This is what I recorded from this microphone, and I haven't done anything about it. Now you might notice that it is a bit lower in volume than my current voice, because we haven't done these steps for the audio yet. And one thing to note, that when you're recording, you want to ensure that you leave like a silence, blank space in the beginning, that you are just recording and not saying anything and holding your breath, and that way your microphone is able to record the background noise and hums and whatever might be happening. Your aircon or something else is causing that noise, so then you are able to remove that in the first step I'll be showing you. But of course, even before you start recording, you could be trying to minimize them. So in my case, I have turned off my aircon and the fridge, and I try to be in as silent room as possible to make this recording. And now, to kind of show you the few things in Audacity, we can do various things to analyze the recording we have. So for example, I can paint this section, and then we go to Analyze tab, and we select the contrast and measure. This shows us now the volume, the average volume of the part we selected. And it's minus 26 decibels. But now you might be confused, like, why is it minus decibels? Well, in this program, 0 decibels means that the audio is at this maximum level and is basically clipping or about to be clipped. So you want to never go above 0 decibels in this program. And then everything below it is more silent, and in this case is minus 26 decibels. But then let's do the same, but select this, which looks like this, there's nothing there, right? But if we analyze it, we find that there actually is some sound. So again, analyze contrast, measure. Now this is minus 60 decibels. So there is some sound there. It's very quiet though, already minus 60 decibels. And we can also analyze the spectrum. So we can go to plot spectrum, and we get this fancy thing looking. And I will talk a little bit about it, not too much, but we don't really need to understand this too much. I will say that the one thing to know, because now we're talking about recorded video where we talk to the microphone, so there's no music or anything. So there are different ranges people have in these hertz. So for males, it's from 85 to 180, and with females, it's from 165 to 255 hertz. So around that range is when we speak, that gets recorded, and anything outside of those ranges is typically something else. So in this case, we can see that there's something here on like this 11 hertz, 20 hertz, like this noise, whatever it is, it's not my sound. We don't really need it. So we could get rid of that and not lose any quality of my voice. And that's what we're going to be doing as one of the steps. And we can do the same for the silent part. So we can analyze and see what is in here. And we see it's like mostly this low end of the spectrum. And on the y-axis there's the decibels, so minus 60 to minus 90 is the range I'm looking at here. So that's about it. So basically you just need to understand that the decibels go from minus infinity to 0 decibels, and 0 decibels is the loudest. But then actually when we're looking at this, it looks like it's kind of inverted. So if we zoom in, of course, when it hit the 0 line, that means that it's basically silence or close to silence, and then 1 is loud. And we can see these wavelengths going when we zoom in. And after we have treated this audio, we want to have it be almost touching the 1 at the loudest spots, but not going above that. And that ensures that we are on a good level audio-wise, volume-wise. Okay, with that understanding, you are now ready to then understand these 4 steps so that you know what you're doing and why you are doing these things. So the first one we have is the noise reduction. So we are doing this to remove the unwanted background noise. So let's just select the empty area which has the background noise, and we can check again how loud was it. It was minus 60 decibels. And to remove the background noise, we go to Effect and Noise Reduction. And we click the noise profile. And these settings can be left as they are. These are the default settings and they are good as they are. I never change them myself. So get noise profile. Now it got the noise profile of the painted area, but nothing happened yet. It just recorded the noise here. Now we zoom out and we select the whole track. So you can press Ctrl A to select it all. Then we go again to Effect and Noise Reduction, or you can click here, Repeat Noise Reduction. And I'm gonna just click here and it's gonna automatically do it instantly, like this. Done. And as you saw, there was a slight change or something happened. So we can validate this. We can go here again. It was minus 60 decibels. So let's see what it is now. It is minus 71 decibels. So it got more quiet. So there's less noise. And the thing is that we don't want to overdo that step, because otherwise we are going to be affecting the actual voice recording as well. And we don't want to do that. So the default settings are good. And then next up, we have the high pass filter. So this was because we want to we want to make this even more quiet. Because as I already showed, we have this spectrum, these lower end things, lower end sounds here are unnecessary. We don't need them. They provide nothing for this recording because my sound doesn't go that low. So to do that, you can again select the whole thing and then go to Effects and Filter Curve. And here you probably don't see this by default, but you could go to the factory presets and you could click this one, low roll off for speech. And this is in default in this Audacity program, and it just cuts off all these lower end of the spectrum. But I thought this might be a bit too aggressive, so I wanted to play it safe. So I made my own custom high-end pass filter, which I saved. So you can make whatever you want here and save preset. So I have saved that, so I can now access it here, user presets, and I named it high pass filter. So it looks like this. And to apply it, you just click OK. And it's done. Then we can, of course, validate that it really happened. So we can again go to Analyze, Plot Spectrum, and now we see that it's a lot lower from the lower end of the spectrum. And we can also again measure the contrast, and it's a little bit, it's not that much. I think it was minus 71, now it's minus 72. So well, there was a little bit of something removed. I guess that's probably not very noticeable, but still, why not do it? And we have then the most confusing step, number 3, the compressor. And I'm gonna be trying to explain what this is. Here, compressor. So click that and we get this dialog with all the various settings. So now, yeah, it's time to get confused. So what is this thing? So I actually made that a little test recording clip about the compressor to explain why we do it. So it's just another very slight enhancement for the audio we are making. And basically we are just making the loudest parts of the audio a bit quieter. And we want to do this because we want to make the audio more comfortable to listen to in case there's some really loud noise. Maybe you make some loud noise yourself or something else. So basically we are reducing the dynamic range, which means that we are making the loudest part a bit more quiet. Well, that's the best I can do to explain it, but now I'm gonna be explaining the settings. So threshold, this is the when we start to apply this compressor effect. So above this decibel measure, then that is what gets compressed. So in this case, I have set it to -14 or -15. So everything above this, so -15 to 0, that gets a bit more quiet, as we can see from the dip in the curve. Now, you might just wanna try what works for you, like where you wanna set this exactly. I will leave it here. And then the noise floor. So this is a setting that you can just measure like how noisy is your background noise and then just put that above it so that you ensure that you don't increase the level and the volume of your background noise. So I have it at -70 because that was around the level that my background noise was. Then the ratio, this just means like how steep is the compressor you're doing. So it typically goes from 2:1 to 4:1, maybe even higher if you need. So it's just 4:1 would be more compression happening on the loud parts. So you could experiment with that and try what works for your situation. I'm gonna leave it at 2:1, which is a slight compression. Then the attack time, release time, I think those are fine as they are. And I have unclicked these two because we're going to be making this gain at the last step. So I feel there's no need to do it right now. So we click OK and apply this to our audio. There we go. And now the final step, which is the most important step, which is to ensure that our audio is loud enough. For this we go effect and loudness normalization. And here we can choose there's different standards. I think mostly for YouTube and podcast and such, -16 LUFS is what is recommended. So it's kind of, yeah, like it says here, perceived loudness. So we're just making it equally loud with all the other content on YouTube or wherever you're uploading it. So it sounds loud enough for the user. So now it got louder. So it got louder, and now we can play a little bit of test. So now it should sound equally loud as my voice right now. The primary goal of a compressor is to reduce the dynamic range of the audio. There you go. So these are the steps that are safe to create for any audio recording. So some people also talk about making other tweaks, like using the EQ, which we can access in the filter curve. How do I reset this thing? Flatten. So what they do is something like increase the bass, which I guess is somewhere here. Whoop. And then they might increase some of the higher frequencies to make the sound more crisp. Well, now the thing is that I would not recommend to do any of this stuff unless you know what you're doing, because this all just depends on the microphone you're using and your own voice. So you need to understand what you're doing if you're doing some fancy stuff like this. So I would just recommend to not do it unless you can for sure tell that you made an improvement. So do it if you know what you're doing and you feel like you made an improvement, so you can just test different things. And there's some more in-depth tutorials on YouTube about some audio engineers when they talk about in which situations you might want to do something like that. But those are all on the individual basis, which I'm not going to be covering in this video, because it's not a step I can just give you that you could always do something like that. Like, that's not how it works. Okay, well, we are now at the end. Thank you for watching, and leave me a comment down below and let me know so I know if I should be making more of these type of videos.